before we begin, I want you to imagine, or the whole class to imagine, something for a moment. Imagine that you're already working in the company and you are doing well. You are trusted and you were given access to the important information. Now imagine that you are faced with a decision that could benefit you personally, but it might affect other people negatively. Again, no one's watching, no rule is clearly violated, but it feels off. That uncomfortable pause or that moment of hesitation is exactly where ethics come in. And that is what today's discussion is all about. For today's presentation, I will be discussing the Module 1 or the ethics. This includes what is ethics, the fundamental principles of ethics according to the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, the relationship of the law, ethics, and economics, an overview of the ethical theories, and finally, why ethics is important in a business setting. Now, these topics are important because ethics is not only we study for exams, but it is something we apply when making real decisions that affects the organization, the stakeholders, and the society. But before we move on into formal definition, let us first understand why ethics matters. In real life kasi, not every situation has a clear rule book, and sometimes the law is silent. Sometimes the company policies are unclear, and sometimes doing what is profitable is not the same as doing what is right. And this is where ethical judgment becomes essential. Because according to the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, or CIMA, ethics refers to the moral principles and professional values that guide an individual's behavior, judgment, and decision-making. In the context of business and accounting, ethics serves as a guide for how professionals should act, not only when rules exist, but especially when they do not. Ethics emphasize responsibility not just to employers, but also to the public interest, clients, investors, and other stakeholders. And this means that professionals are expected to consider the broader consequences of their actions, not just personal or organizational gain. In other words, ethics helps to answer the question, just because we can do something, should we do it? Okay, now that we understand what ethics means, the next important question is this. How do professionals know what ethical behavior looks like in practice? And CIMA answers this by establishing the fundamental principles of ethics that guide professional conduct. Okay, let's discuss one by one. First is integrity. So when we say integrity, it means honest, straightforward, and transparent in all professionals and business relationships. It requires professionals to present information truthfully and avoid misleading others, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Because in accounting, integrity is especially important because financial information is relied upon by many people. And when integrity is compromised, trust is lost. And once trust is lost, it is very difficult to restore. And integrity is not just about avoiding lies, but it is being truthful even when honesty is inconvenient. And closely related to integrity is the principle of objectivity. Now, this objectivity, it requires professionals to make judgments that are free from bias, conflicts of interest, or undue influence rather, which this means that personal relationships, financial interests, or pressure from management should not affect the professional decisions. Objectivity, again, it ensures that decisions are based on evidence, facts, and professional standards rather than emotions or personal benefit. Because in practice, objectivity protects the quality and credibility of professional work. However, honesty and objectivity alone are not enough because professionals, us, must also be capable of performing their duties properly, which leads us to the next principle. The next principle is the professional competence and due care, which here it requires individuals to maintain up to knowledge or up to date knowledge and skills to perform their work carefully, accurately, and diligently. Now, this principle recognizes that the ethical behavior also includes competence. It provides service without sufficient knowledge or skill that can cause harm, even if there is no dishonest intention. Therefore, professionals have responsibility to engage with continuous learning and to follow the technical and professional standards. As professionals gain access to sensitive information, another ethical responsibility arises, which it refers to the next ethics, which is confidentiality. So what is confidentiality? It refers to the obligation to protect information acquired through professional relationships. So what does it mean? Professionals or us must not disclose such information without proper authority, nor should they use it for personal advantage or advantage of others. This principle builds trust and it ensures that sensitive data is handled responsibly. Because without confidentiality, again, professionals, relationships would not function effectively. Which finally, the ethical conduct must be reflected not only in decision but also in behavior, which it leads us to the last, which is the professional behavior, which here it requires compliance with the laws, regulations, and professional standards, because it also involves avoiding actions that may discredit rather the profession. And this principle reminds us professional that their conduct both inside and outside the workplace reflects on their profession as a whole. Now, moving forward, we will look how ethics connects with economics and law in real business situation. And to begin with, let us first define what is ethics. When we say ethics, again, it focuses on what is right and fair, because it reminds us that decisions are not only about numbers or rules, but also about the values such as honesty, fairness, and justice. Because when ethics is ignored, even if everything appears to be acceptable on the paper, serious problems can still arise. And next, let us move on to economics. So when we say economics, it is mainly concerned with the profit and efficiency. It asks whether a decision will maximize the income and use the resource effectively. However, profit alone does not always mean that the decision is acceptable, because in reality, a company can earn large profits while still acting unethically. So, for example, nalang dyan is we can see the Enron scandal. Now, this Enron company was a major energy company in the US that manipulated its financial reports and to appear it more profitable than it actually was. At first, the company seemed successful, but eventually, the hidden losses were revealed, leading to its collapse. Now, this clearly shows that a decision can be profitable, but still unethical. And now, let's talk about laws. So, when we say law, these are created to protect the public and to set a clear rules for businesses to follow. Despite this, again, I will use the example of Enron, the Enron scandal. It shows that the rules alone are not enough to prevent unethical behavior. As a result, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002 was introduced to require a greater transparency and accountability in financial reporting. Because when we look at their relationship, again, ethics and economics must work together, because economics asks whether a decision is profitable, while ethics asks whether it is right. Because when combined, these businesses are encouraged to consider the impact of their decisions on people, not just on profits. Similarly, ethics and law are closely connected. the laws set the minimum standard of behavior, but ethics goes beyond what is legally required. In other words, something can be legal and still unethical, which is why ethical judgment remains important. And finally, economics and law depend on each other. When we say economics or the economic activity, it requires law to prevent fraud and maintain trust in the market. And at the same time, economic realities often influence the creation of laws. Overall, ethics must work alongside with economics and law to prevent misconduct and maintain trust in business. Next, now we will talk about the different types of ethical theories. Now, these theories will help explain how people decide what is right and wrong. And in the business context, these theories guide people when they face difficult decisions. And they help us to think carefully before choosing what action to be taken. And first, let's discuss what is absolutism. Absolutism, it means that there are clear rules about what is right and wrong, and these rules do not change. So no matter the situation, we simply put this as a rules that must always be followed. And in the business, this means that professional must always follow laws, policies, and code of ethics. Even if it is breaking a rule, can bring a profit and make it work easier, absolutism says it's still wrong. Take note of that because this theory focuses on discipline and strict obedience to the rules. Next, we move on to relativism. Now, this is in contrast of absolutism because it explains that what is right and wrong can still depend on the person's culture, society, or beliefs. Now, in other words, people may have different views about ethics depending on where they come from or how they were raised. For example, na lang dyan is a business practice that is acceptable in one country, maybe it cannot be acceptable in another country. However, in professional fields like accounting, relying only on personal beliefs can be dangerous. Take note of that because us professionals and accountants are still expected to follow the ethical standards even when cultural differences exist. Okay, now moving forward, let us discuss another theory, which is utilitarianism. By means of utilitarianism, it focuses on the result of an action. Please take note of that because it asks a simple question, which is, which decision will help most people? And this action actually is considered ethical if it creates more good than harm. Because instead of looking only at the rules, this theory mention the effects of a decision on the others. And under the utilitarianism, there are two types, which I'm about to discuss it in the next slide. Okay, the first types of utilitarianism is the act utilitarianism. So here, it looks at the action one by one because it asks whether a specific action will benefit the most people at the moment. And if the answer is yes, then the action is considered acceptable, even if it breaks a certain rules or policies. And because of this, decisions under the act utilitarianism focus more on short-term results. However, this can sometimes cause problems. Why? Because breaking rules may help many people in one situation but can also lead to unfair treatment, confusion, or loss of trust in the long run. So even if the results look good at first, the decision may not always be fair to everyone involved. Then next, in contrast, is the rule utilitarianism. It means that it aims to benefit the greatest number of the people, but it does so by following the rules that usually lead to good and fair outcomes. And take note of this, that instead of judging the actions at one time, it asks whether the following a certain rule will generally create more good than harm. Because rules help maintain order and fairness. We agree on that. No, and this approach is considered safer in the business and professional settings because it reduces the favoritism, supports consistency, and helps protect the trust of the employees, customers, and public. And that is why rule utilitarianism is often preferred in organizations. Another theory to consider is the justice. Now, justice focuses on fairness. We agree on that because it means treating people equally and making sure similar situations are handled the same way. No? In business, this includes a fair pay, fair promotion, and fair treatment of the employees. And if someone is treated differently, there must be a clear and a valid reason because decision should never be based on favoritism or personal gain. Moving forward, let's talk about deontology, or also known as the duty-based ethics. Now, this slide is saying that deontologist believes in the following rules and duties at the same time. What does it mean? For example, if a person is always keeping promises to a friend and will always follow the law, no matter the situation, no? It focus here not on the results, but rather doing what is considered one's duty. Now, this approach leads to very consistent decision. Why? Because actions are based on fixed duties, no? However, as shown in this slide, it also has its weakness. And this is important to take note because there is no clear or logical way to decide what those duties should be. And different people may believe that they have different duties which can cause disagreement. Okay, now moving forward, let's talk about teleological or consequentialism, or also known as the outcome-based ethics. Here, actions are judged based on what happens after they are done. Take note of that because an action is considered ethical if it creates more benefits than harm, especially for many people or stakeholders. So instead of asking, is this rule following? Or this approach asks, did this decision help more people? However, this also reminded us that this approach must be balanced with ethical standards because if we focus only on the outcomes, we might end up justifying unethical actions. And that is why trust and ethical limits are still important, especially in business. And lastly, let's talk about the Kohlberg's stages of human, or also known as moral development. Actually, this theory explains that people make moral or ethical decisions through 6 stages, no, which are grouped into 3 levels. And as people grow and gain experience, their way of thinking about right and wrong also changes. At first, decisions are based on personal consequences like avoiding punishment. Then later, people begin to care about the rules and social order. And finally, at the highest level, decisions are guided by justice, fairness, and concern for the society as a whole. And in the next slide, I will explain further this pyramid so that the whole class will imagine or understand and be enlightened for the moral development that I'll be showing in the next slides. Okay. Now that I've provided the diagram, let's start. First, let's look at the lower part of the diagram or the pyramid. This shows the pre-conventional level. What it means that these actions are based on avoiding punishment and gaining personal benefit because people ask questions like, will I get in trouble, or what do I gain from this? As shown in the picture, moral decisions are here, and they are very self-centered. Remember that they are self-centered because people do not yet think about society or rules, and they only focus mainly on themselves and the immediate consequences. Okay, next is the conventional level. So here, decisions are influenced by wanting others to approve, by following the rules and laws. Here, people at this level want to be seen as good and responsible members of the society. As shown in the diagram, individuals believe rules exist to maintain order and stability, and ethical behavior means obeying laws and meeting social expectations. Lastly, the conventional level, which this is the highest level of moral reasoning. Why? Because at this stage, laws are seen as agreements created for the common good, not an absolute rules, because people are guided by abstract principles such as fairness, justice, and human rights. As shown in the diagram, individuals at this level may even question or disobey laws if those laws are considered unjust. Ethical decisions are made based on what is morally right for the society, not just what is legal. And to summarize the whole pyramid, or the human development theory, these theories and stages helps us to understand what ethical thinking develops over time, and it can be viewed as different perspective. In business context, understanding these ideas helps professional makes decisions that are not only legal and profitable but also fair and responsible. Okay, now when we talk about business, we usually think about profit, growth, and success. But the real question here is, how are those achieved? Are the business successful simply because they earn money or because they operate responsibly? And this brings us to question, why is ethics important in a business setting? Because ethics plays a role in many areas of the business. We do agree on that. Because first, it helps make sure that the companies actually follow rules and regulations instead of finding ways to go around them. And at the same time, ethics reminds professionals that their actions affect more than just the company, but rather they also affect the stakeholders and the public. And to better understand this, we have a five prepared reasons that explain why ethics is important in the business. And let's go through them one by one. So for the first is builds public trust. Here, ethical practices help business gain trust and credibility, especially in accounting, as where financial reports must be truthful. And when the stakeholders know that information is honest, they feel confident in the organization. But once ethics are violated, this is the question to be asked. Can trust be easily restored? In most cases, trust is hard to rebuild. And I think that is why ethical behavior is essential in maintaining strong and lasting business relationships. Next, ethics is important in a business setting because it secures adherence to the rules and regulations. Ethics guides accountants, us, and professionals to follow the laws and professional standards such as the IFAC, the Sarbanes-Oxley, and the RA 9298. IFAC, or also known as the International Federation of Accountants, it sets a global ethical and professional standards for accountants. And for the Sarbanes-Oxley, again, I defined it earlier, it is a law created to improve the accuracy and honesty of financial reporting to prevent the corporate fraud. Then lastly, the Republic Act 9298, or also known as the Philippine Accountancy Act of 2004, which here it governs the practice of accountancy in the Philippines that ensures that accountants act professionally and ethically. Now, these rules are in place to make sure that the financial information is accurate, honest, and reliable. But the question here is, what happens if these rules are ignored? And when ethics are not followed here, always remember this, that businesses become more exposed to frauds, errors, and illegal practices. And that is why ethics plays a key role in ensuring the compliance, discipline, and responsibility within the organization. Moving on, ethics also protects stakeholders and the public interest. We take note that ethics remind accountants that they serve more than just clients because their decisions affect the shareholders, employees, customers, and society as a whole. So when making decision, professionals must ask themselves, who will be affected by this action? Now, by considering the interests of the stakeholders, ethics promotes fairness and accountability, ensuring that the decisions are made not for personal benefit, but for the greater good. Next, ethics helps businesses avoid company scandals and bankruptcy. Unethical actions can lead to legal penalties, damaged reputation, and financial failure because history has shown that many companies collapse because of ethical standards were ignored. So the question here becomes, is short-term gain worth long-term loss? Now, practicing ethics helps companies avoid scandals and supports long-term sustainability, allowing businesses to grow responsibly, and maintain stability over time. Last but not the least, ethics favors good corporate governance. Ethical behavior strengthens the transparency, accountability, and fairness within an organization. And when information is clear and honest, management and boards can make better and more informed decisions. And this leads us to ask, how can leaders make good decisions without reliable information? And this ensures that ethics and the information is not manipulated, which results in a strong and effective corporate governance.